Hi, this is Linda from Remade with Love, and today I'm going to walk you through remaking a simple ball jar. You know how I love taking items that you have at home and reusing them rather than throwing them out. Well, this you can do with any jar that you have on hand. It could be a spaghetti sauce jar, it could be mason jars that you've had. It doesn't need to have its lid, so if you've already gotten rid of the lid, perfect. Because what we're going to do is we're going to make something to hold a really cute design on a jar. It could be used at weddings, it could be used at picnics or events where you'd like to have something on the table, maybe some flowers in here, maybe some candy or some giveaways, but it's a way to reuse and make this cute jar. So let's get started. First thing you need to know is to have on hand, obviously, a jar. And you're going to want to be able to clean it. I use Clean Slate. It's a degreaser as well as a cleaner. You want to make sure that all the grease and the oils are gone so that your paint sticks. If you have paint that doesn't have, if you use paint that doesn't have anything that'll stick to it, you'll want to go ahead and either get Slick Stick from Dixie Belle, or you'll want to get the Amy Howard product that allows you to paint on glass and it'll stay there to use as a base. Then you'll want some paint. I use chalk paint for almost everything because I use it on the furniture that I redo, and so I use it on a lot of my makeover items as well. I like using a dark color. I've done some in blue and in a coral color. I tend to like the dark base and then highlight it with the white. So to put it on, you'll need a paint roller with a low nap brush. You'll need, obviously, a tray to pour your paint into, a stir stick, your paint we talked about. What'll be really important when you get to it is another paint that's going to be a lighter color. Like I used a value of white in my chalk paint for this. I used it with a chippy brush, one that's really up and down. I don't want a chippy brush that's flat. I want to make use of the up and down brush bristles on this. Some twine if you'd like to decorate the top. If you want to seal it, a polyacrylic or something similar, Amy Howard's matte sealer, polyacrylic, a wax. And then you're going to use a Cricut. So this is for those people who have Cricut machines, because I suppose you could cut it out by hand, but it's so much easier to find a design that once you measure the circumference of your jar, you'll want it to go all the way around, the detail, the design, and then you want to cut it out. So you could cut these out, but it would take a long time to do and lots of steady hands. So I used my Cricut machine and some Mylar. So you can buy this Mylar at any of the box stores, Michael's, Joann's, things like that, that carry Cricut or other cutting machine supplies. So go ahead and buy 12 by 12 acrylic pieces to do your design on and have them cut out. You'll need some tape. I used also a kitchen towel to wrap it in while it was drying, while the glue was drying, and some hot glue for the twine if you want to go ahead and decorate the top. So let's get started.
In this video, we'll learn how to make over a mason jar for a beautiful centerpiece or a gift container. A special shout out goes to Michael L. Smith from the Cricut Facebook page, who introduced this idea to me. I've taken it a step further with using Mylar templates cut on the Cricut. First, start by cleaning your jar thoroughly to remove any dirt or oils, even from your hands, which could stop the paint from adhering to the jar. I'm using Amy Howard at Home paints, which don't need to have any additives to it to stick to the glass, but some chalk paints do not have that possibility of sticking to the jar, so you will have to use something so that the paint will adhere to something slick And so I would recommend Dixie Belle's Slick Stick if you're using a different chalk paint than Amy Howard's. Try to use jars with little or no raised words or numbers on the glass, or this may detract from your design. And you'll see what I mean when we go through the steps to highlight what's on the outside of the jar. I love using chalk paint, especially for this, because with the technique that I'll be teaching you, it helps the dead matte flat chalk paint to really stand out from the design that we're going to have pop by using a contrasting chalk paint on it. I use a low pile foam roller. It's great. It gives no streaks. It has very little to no texture depending on your chalk paint that you're using. And I put 1 to 2 coats on. I used black here. I found out that I enjoyed the darker color actually more than the lighter color. And so using a black gave me the look that I wanted, or that I like most from all the samples that I did. Once again, let 20 minutes in between coats to dry. And while drying your base coat, you're going to go ahead and find, using Cricut Design, about a 1 inch by 10 inch, so 1 inch tall by 10 inch long linear pattern that you like. I liked these berries and vine and cut them out using my Cricut. Of course, if you find a design that you'll like, you can always trace it on the Mylar and cut by hand, but or use Michael Smith's paper route. But here I am using Mylar because I wanted to have a different kind of a raised feel to it rather than paper. So then go ahead and take your glue. It could be Gorilla Glue or E6000 or even Elmers glue. I used a paintbrush. I painted the glue on and I secured it around there. Now, obviously the Mylar is going to fight with your round shape. It's not going to want to stick there. So after a few minutes of holding, and you could see that I used a really tacky glue on there to hold it securely till it's been a few minutes and dries, I wrapped it in parchment paper and then a kitchen towel, and then I kind of just shoved it between couch cushions and had it dry overnight. So then after unwrapping, roll a 3rd coat of chalk paint, so 1 over the design. It covers easily. Make sure to blend the paint all over so you're not just rolling right over what you've attached. You're going to blend it in. Let dry 20 minutes after that. And this next step is crucial. Using your chip brush, dip just the tips into your contrasting light color. I used white, and then offload on parchment paper or whatever you've got handy to offload, and very, very lightly flick or kiss the tips over the design in long but quick movements. This should take a few minutes as the paint is going to gradually build up, giving a beautiful look with the design outlined in your lighter color. Continue until the design pops. There we go. You can start to see that design coming out. And once you flick all over, you're going to do all the areas, not just where the design is. This is going to look so beautiful. Now, as I said before, I tried using lighter bases with a darker value paint, and although they turned out fine, I still found that I preferred a darker base with the white contrast. You may find that depending on what you're going to use these for, could be a centerpiece just for a dinner or just to have in the house, but it could also be for a picnic or outside tables or a wedding. This would be great for a wedding. Maybe you want to color coordinate your colors for the wedding. Go ahead and try things out. Play with the colors. Play with it ahead of time. You don't have to secure it to the mason jar. Go ahead and take your template and secure it to a piece of paper and see what that would look like if you colored it with lighter color paint and then your other paints that would coordinate with your event. That would be awesome. So to finish, you're going to take the remainder of whatever chalk paint that you used to highlight your design and add about 1/3 volume of water and stir in. Then dip your pre-measured twine into the mix, and you're going to squeegee it out using your fingers after you dip it in. You don't want it dripping wet, but you want it to be soaked in, and that you do want it to dry. It will not be crisp with chalk paint that's been watered down, and once you squeegee the excess water off and let it dry there on your parchment paper overnight, or for at least 20 minutes until it's dry. And I found as I squeegeed out the twine, I also made it as straight as possible as I could, and then you're going to get a beautiful finish around the rim of the jar if you do that. Just kind of lay it out, squeegee it as you go. And then you're going to glue the twine around the opening of the jar where the lid would normally screw on. This doesn't have to look perfect. Remember, you're going to have things coming out of the jar, wreaths or bouquets or whatever, candy sticks. You know, you can go to town on what you actually use these jars for. It's always great to, if you're not a canner, I don't can a lot, I've only canned a few things, but I do have ball jars that I have extra of, or I pick up at garage sales. It's always fun to do crafts that will enhance your lifestyle, and so having a few of these or gifting a few would be great. Now, if you're going to gift this, use it as a gifting jar, maybe it would be a great idea to you decorate the outside and then you fill it with dirt and some seeds. Maybe you're going to fill it with a cake mix that's dry. Do not put the twine on the outside. Go ahead and just put the jar lid on and decorate the jar lid. Put the twine around the lid. Put a sticker or label on the top. Be creative. You can do this. These will look beautiful as centerpieces with tea lights or fresh flowers, embellished seasonal faux bouquets, honey or candy sticks, and more. Just snip to finish. Tuck in the tail with a toothpick. There you go. Simple and beautiful. Thanks for watching Remade with Love. Please follow me on Facebook and YouTube. Bye-bye.